After cashing out for the biggest poker tournament win of my life, $62,000, it's time to put it all on the line and raise the stakes. I'm buying in for $25,000, my largest buy-in ever, for my shot at a $10 million prize pool and a whopping $1.9 million for first place. The best poker players in the world are all here, all ready to battle. The Triton Series here in Korea has drawn all the top talent, and lifting that final trophy is the ultimate prize. Just a few hours earlier, I fell short of the grand prize, busting out in 22nd place, but that wasn't enough. Only the final 9 remaining players make the final table. The opportunity is there, the payouts are massive, but so is the pressure. $25,000 is a lot of money to risk. I've sold no action this entire series, and I'm having second thoughts.
Are you in the 25K?
I've decided not to enter it unless I, feel better later. I don't know.
Okay, you don't feel great?
No, I feel good, but...
Okay, you just want to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
2 more events? Yep. I'm thinking if I'm going to do this one or not.
Jump in, bro.
I should?
Yeah, definitely.
At some point, making a final table would be sick, right? So at some point, I just got to do that.
As I watch the final table from a distance, I can't help but imagine myself still at my seat, battling for millions of dollars one last time before I fly back home to Texas. I'm on the fence, so I recruit the assistance of my good buddy Rampage to help make my $25,000 decision.
What's up, you guys? Wolfgang and Rampage here, coming off of our really deep run here at the first event here in Triton. Maybe I do fire the 25K, but we're gonna play Croc. And if you guys don't know how Croc works, basically like you touch the mouth and one of the teeth is really bad and then it closes. And if I'm the one who loses and closes the mouth, I'm going to go and play the 25K, even though I had no intention on doing it.
I'm rooting to win. Let's go. Let's get you in there.
We're entering a tournament, let's go!
I head over to the registration table to exchange $25,000 from my player account for a seat in the tourney. The tournament has been running all day, and only 161 out of the 391 entrants are left. Average stack is 436K, and I'm sitting with 200K for just 20 big blinds. As I approach my table, I immediately see that it's not going to be easy. On my left is Alex Foxen and Ebony Kenny. A little bit further is Dan Smith, and straight across from me is the one and only Patrick Antonius. I'm nervous but excited. If I can make it off this table, I know I can win the whole thing. My table might be tough, but nothing's tougher than picking up the Cowboys for our very first hand in the biggest poker tournament of my life. Well, pocket aces would be better, but back in Texas, the Cowboys are number 1. The blinds have gone up to 6K, 12K, 12K. I only have around 12 big blinds in my stack, and I open it up to 24K from the low jack. I immediately get 3-bet by John Noel Thorell from the cutoff, and he makes it 80K to go. If you don't know who Thorell is, he's number 1 on the France all-time money list and has over $20 million in total live earnings. Even though he has over 20 times more earnings than me, my hand has to play itself here. I jam my 12 big blind stack in the middle, and he puts in the call. Like 2 working girls, the cards are on their backs, and we see we're in an interesting spot here. Kings versus 3s, 81% chance to double up here. Step 1 is get it in good. Step 2 is hold. The dealer puts out the flop 8-8-5 with 2 diamonds. The turn comes the 4 of diamonds, and the river seals his fate. The 7 of spades peels off, and just like that, we win a 318K pot, which inches us just a little bit closer to being average sack in the tournament. Even though we just won a crucial hand, there's still a sense of urgency as the blind levels continue to go up fast. We're now at the 15K big blind level, and with 318K in our stack, I have 21 big blinds to play with. Real quickly, 64% of you guys that watched the last video were not subscribed. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell to make sure you don't miss a vlog in the future. Just a few more hands go by before we pick up our next big premium holding, Ace Queen offsuit. The action surprisingly folds around to me in the small blind. Usually the button or cutoff would have put in a raise by now when it folds to them, but action's on me in the small blind, and before I decide what to do, I look over at my opponent in the big blind, Alex Foxen. He's the 5th best player in the world according to the GPI ranking. He has the 10th most amount of money in the United States all time, with over $45 million in total live earnings. Definitely not someone to mess around with. Even though we share the same first name, our skill levels couldn't be further apart. It's important against good players to have a balanced strategy. Ace Queen offsuit from the surface seems like a 100% candidate to put in a raise, but by limping in for 15K, it keeps us balanced, and it might incentivize Alex to put in a raise here, thinking he has a massive edge on us and wants to play a bigger pot. That's exactly what happens. He now raises it up to 38k, putting the pressure back over to me. Because I balanced in ace queen offsuit, this is a perfect time to jam my entire stack in. I have him covered. He only has around 16 big blinds, so if he calls it off here with pocket sevens, I'm happy to get it in against a great player in a flip situation. But when I come in for the jam, he snap folds, and we made another 23k in the process by limping in instead of raising. And just like that, we find ourselves in another level jump up to the 20k big blind level with 310k in my stack. I have around 16 big blinds, but crucial information, we just found out that 63 players will make the money. There's 110 players left, and if I hit that money bubble, we'll make $41,500. We find ourselves in another hand versus a super pro when Dan Smith raises the cutoff up to 40k. You guys probably have heard of Dan Smith because he's third all time in the US money list with over $59 million in total live earnings, coupled with the fact he's number 54 on the Global Poker Index ranking. This guy is someone to fear. Stats aside, he's actually a very nice guy and we share a common love of skiing, but I'm gonna try to take some chips from him here when I put in the 40k from the big blind. Let's take it to the streets. The flop comes 10-7 deuce all hearts, and with 110k in the middle, I start with a check. I expect Dan to go for a very small bet here on this monotone board, and that's exactly what he does when he fires out for 20k. Action's back over to me. I have ace high, I have the 3 of hearts in my hand, and both are a good enough reason on their own to put in the call. Ace high is going to be beating a lot of his jack high, king high holdings, and when I put in the call, the turn now comes the jack of diamonds, which isn't exactly the best card in the deck. I'm interested to see what he does when I check it over to Dan. He might go for a bet here, or he might check behind, and luckily for me, we're gonna see 5 cards when he checks behind, which brings in another heart on the river. We now have the flush when the 4 of hearts peels off. I think the best play is to check it over to Dan and call a bluff, but he checks behind, I table the flush, and 150k much needed chips are being added to my stack. With a little bit of momentum, our chip stack is now up over 20 big blinds, and I look down at the ladies here in Korea and raise it up to 40k from under the gun. Yu Lee jams the button for 400k for exactly 20 big blinds, and the action folds around to the big blind. He looks like he's in a tough spot, and you can see me continuously check my cards. I can't believe my good fortune. I have pocket queens here, which is the 3rd best hand ever created, and hopefully the big blind puts in more money so I can jam my 410k stack in the middle and possibly get a triple up. But when he folds his cards, I double check my hand yet one more time. I don't want to make a mistake here in my biggest ever event. Put in the snap call, and we are off to see 5 cards. When the cards hit their backs, we see we're up against king jack of clubs, which is still going to win this 1 out of every 3 times. So even though I have a premium hand, we still have to hold on. And my heart goes into my stomach when I see a king on the flop, but it's followed by one of our queens. Bang, we flop a set on a king queen 5 2 hearts board. The turn comes the 8 of clubs sealing his fate, and the 6 of hearts puts the nail in the coffin. Yu Lee is sent to the rails, and we're taking down a massive pot here, 850k, which is good for over 40 big blinds, and now I finally have more than average stack and definitely have a dream of making the final table. Just like that, the stakes increase yet again up to the 30k big blind level. I have 860k in my stack, which is good for 29 big blinds, and like I just said, average stack is 28 big blinds, so for the first time today, I have an above average stack. There's 93 players left, 63 make the money, and we have just entered the last level of day 1. Could I bag here in my biggest ever 25k buy-in and make a day 2? We're about to find out. Remember when I told you I was playing at the same table with the legend Patrick Antonius? Well, his chip stack has dwindled down to 125k, good for around 4 big blinds, and now all of his chips are in the middle when he jams all in from under the gun. Patrick Antonius is someone who needs no introduction. He has over $30 million in total live earnings and is number 1 on the Finland all-time money list. Even crazier than that, he was spotted having breakfast in the exact same room as Wolfgang Poker, so you know he's a big deal. All jokes aside, you guys, if I was to create a Mount Rushmore of poker players, Patrick would definitely make it up there, so it makes my decision pretty easy when I look down at pocket sixes and have the chance to eliminate one of my poker idols. After I put in the call, Ebony Kenny defends her big blind. We're going 3 ways to the flop. If you don't know who Ebony is, she's a great player and has over $2.6 million in total live earnings. With 420k in the middle, the flop comes king 4 deuce rainbow, and the action goes check check. I don't see any need to bet here, and especially not on the queen of clubs turn. Ebony checks and I check behind once again. The river is yet another overcard to our pocket pair. It comes the ace of hearts. When Ebony checks it over to me, possibly I could be winning here at Showdown, and I check behind once again. We are going to beat Ebony when she turns over pocket fives. Those are going to hit the muck, but then Patrick turns over queen 10 offsuit, which made a pair on the turn. It was a flip against one of my poker idols, and if I was going to lose a 400k pot to anyone at this table, I'd probably have to choose him. I really wanted to stack Patrick Antonius and add that to my list of accomplishments, but it'll have to wait for another time as we get our first table switch of the day. I'm super relieved as I finally get some breathing room from the endless pressure of playing against such insane pros. But before we can even get settled at our new table, I look down at a premium ace king of diamonds from under the gun and open it up to 60k. A very good player by the name of Alex Kulev calls on the button, and then the action folds around to Lasuski in the big blind, who shoves his 495k or 16 big blind stack in the middle. If you're thinking that Lasuski looks familiar, you're not wrong. I knocked him out in the previous vlog, and kind of funny, I have an opportunity to do it again in this tournament. I go into the tank here, but obviously it's not a real decision. I just don't want to act too fast before putting more chips in the middle so that the button Kulev can't get a good read on me. Well, I'm thinking about what to do. Triton comes on the intercom and announces there's only 4 hands left of day 1, and I'm probably going to be in a situation here where all of my chips are in the middle. That's exactly what happens. I put in the call, Kulev folds the button, and we're playing a 1.1 million chip pot with only 4 hands to go on day 1. And what does he turn over? Pocket 10s. We're gonna need to spike an ace, a king, or running diamonds, or a straight to beat Lasuski. And the flop comes a little bit of overkill when it gives us 2 pair on an ace king high board. The turn comes a 6 of clubs, and the river gives us a boat with the king of spades. 100% chance we're winning this over million chip pot. Lasuski hits the rail, and just like that, with 4 hands to go, we now have a massive pot. We are sitting up over 40 big blinds, and I breathe a sigh of relief as I know how massive that spot was. But there's no time to relax, because no joke, in the very next hand, I look down at pocket kings. It's crazy because I still haven't settled into my seat. First, I couldn't even sit down, and now I'm still gathering chips from the last pot. And now Joey Weissman raises it up to 450k from the cutoff. Joey has over $8 million in total live earnings and is number 52 on the GPI rankings list, but more than that, he's been playing poker for over 15 years, and I'd consider him one of the best American poker players at this time. Action's on me, and there was a raise from under the gun, so I make sure to see how many chips they have in their stack before putting in the call. I want to incentivize that under the gun player to find the call as well, but when they fold, we are going off to a run out. Oh no, wait, Joey did that 1 chip professional thing where they leave one behind just in case there's further action. They have a little bit of extra value there, and that means there's still some play left when we see a queen 5-3 flop.
Well, let's play for all of it.
I put them all in for 1 chip. He calls with pocket 9s, and we're gonna need to hold here, and the turn and the river are in our favor. Just like that, we play back-to-back 1 million chip pots, eliminate one of the best American poker players at this time.
This is the best broken table seat I've ever had in my life. Oh my god.
And my confidence is through the roof as I now find myself about to bag up 1.8 million chips on day 1. In order to figure out how many chips everybody has and make sure they don't get altered before day 2, you have to put all of your day 1 chips in a bag, seal them off, and then you give it to the tournament director.
Technically, this is $250,000 worth of chips. $250,000. What the fuck? Dude, I got so nervous though when he shoved and I had ace king of diamonds, and I'm like, I know I'm probably flipping. Like, you gotta play poker. I mean, what are we doing here? Yeah. All right, you guys, we're back here at Triton in Jeju, South Korea for day 2, my second day 2, so the chain is back on. But what I didn't realize is I was gonna 10x my starting stack from 200,000 to 1.95 million, 8th in chips, 1.8 million up top. It's just an awesome experience. I'm having a blast, and I'm gonna show you guys how much fun I'm gonna have on this live stream. We're starting off on the featured table. Let's go.
You guys heard that right. The featured table is now in our sights. As I set up my chips and mics for the live stream, let me update you guys really quickly on the payout structure of the tournament. Right now, there's 73 players left. If we can get down to 63, we'll make $41,500. The next pay jump comes at 55th place, which bumps me up to $45,000. If we can get down to 17th, that would be a 6-figure score of $101,000, and a final table place of 9th will get me $106,000. 278K. I can't get too ahead of myself, but first and second place are both over $1 million. We're coming into the red feature table as the chip leader, 49 big blinds, 1.95 million chips, and actually I have the most amount of chips on either of the feature tables. Kristen Foxon, the crusher over there at the blue table, leads the way with 32 big blinds. In the first hand at the feature table, Jeremy Osmus, the American Super Pro, opens it up to 80K from the +1 position. Action comes around to me and I decide to call out of the big blind with pocket fives, but wait, the dealer tells me it's 330K to go, and then I look across the table and see that Schultz Peterson on the button had 3-bet all in to 330K, and I already have put in 80K. That money is going to be dead if I don't want to put any more in, but at this point, everyone at the table, including Jeremy, knows that I don't really have a 330K hand because I probably would have raised it if I did. It's a massive mistake. I have to fold my pocket fives, so I'm pretty capped and Jeremy could take advantage, and I definitely need to focus up as I get into the next hand. The poker gods want to give me a chance to redeem myself, so when I look down at pocket fives from the hijack and open it up to 80K, only to get 3-bet from the cutoff up to 220K, I make the right decision here and don't make the same mistake twice. I fold my cards. With only 4 players away from a min cash here at Triton, which would officially be my second cash of the series, Ebony Kenny and Jeremy Osmus get into an all-in situation, 2.3 million chip pot, and the ultimate cooler, pocket kings versus pocket aces. Ebony looks deflated, and rightfully so. She's the one that's at risk, but I noticed that she didn't talk to the poker gods and try to use her one time.
She's using her one time too.
So I tell her kindly, you gotta use your one time here, Ebony. This is a massive spot, and I'm feeling some good vibes for you. Bang! The king of hearts on the turn. The poker gods reward the one time with the set on the turn to cooler pocket aces and Jeremy in this 2.3 million chip pot. And this is just a friendly reminder, you guys, if you haven't used your one time yet, 100% satisfaction guaranteed, and I better not have to be at your table to remind you to do it.
I'm gonna take credit for telling her to say that. That was good for poker, I think.
Oh my God.
Bang!
110.
2 players away from min cashing for $41,000. Under the gun opens it up to 100K on the 50K big blind level. Folds around to me in the big blind with ace queen offsuit, and I decide to put in the call here off of around a 30 big blind stack. The logic is I want to balance in some good hands as well. When I call out of the big blind, ace queen offsuit is a good hand to do so. The flop comes king 6-4 with 2 hearts, and I start with a check out of position. Valinis now bets half pot for 150K, and the action's back over to me. Sure, I have the backdoor straight being Broadway or the wheel, but with just one overcard to the king, I decide to fold my hand here, and a little bit frustrating because I'm trying to play some hands, but it's just not working out. As the other remaining pros around the room continue to battle it out one by one, we have found ourselves just 1 player away from the money. We started out with 73 players, now just down to 64, but I can't just go into cruise control yet. Remember when we started the day in first place on both of the feature tables? Well, we had a 49 big blind stack, but now it's down to 29 big blinds. Well, this could be the turning point that we needed. We look down at the bullets, American Airlines, weapons of mass destructions, pocket aces, and Ebony Kenny in the small blind opens it up to 155K. Got a 3-bet here with the best hand ever created. I make it 300 and Cinco de Mayo, 355K. Hopefully she puts in the call. Maybe she'll come in for a 4-bet out of position, but unfortunately she takes option C, which is fold her cards. King 10 offsuit, gonna hit the muck. Step 1 is get a good hand like pocket aces. Step 2 is get a lot of value.
Bang.
You don't want to tangle with me right now.
And just like that, the bubble has burst. We're down to 63 players, $41,500 locked up. I have my sights set on the final table. I got a healthy chip stack. I just cashed earlier in the day for $62,000, and now I just cashed for $41,500, putting me over $100,000 in cashes in one day alone.
We're in the money.
We're in the money.
We're rich. We're rich. Now we can play poker again. What did you fold?
But we're not satisfied with that just yet. I look down at ace king offsuit from the hijack and make it 100K to go. The cutoff and the big blind both put in the call. We're going off to a flop 3 ways with 375K in the middle. The flop comes jack 9-7 with 2 hearts. I have the king of hearts in my hand, but given the fact I'm out of position against one player and in position on another, we call that monkey in the middle, and I'm usually gonna start with a check. Action checks over to the cutoff, who bets out for 100K. The big blind folds and I decide to call, floating the cutoff here with my ace king high. The turn comes to 8 of diamonds, connecting the board even further, and the action goes check check, bringing in the 5 of hearts on the river. I don't think this is a great river to go for a bluff and try to get him to fold one pair. It brings in the front door heart draw, so I check it over to the cutoff, who checks behind with top and is taking down a 600K pot. With a pay jump to $45,000 now locked up with 56 players remaining, we're at the 60K big blind level, and I open it up to 120K with ace king again. This time it's suited in the club variety. Schultz Peterson from the big blind decides to defend with 10-9 offsuit, and we're taking a flop. The flop comes queen, deuce, deuce, and he checks it over to me. With ace king high here, I look over at his stack and I see he has 215K behind, so I toss out 4 black chips. That effectively puts him all in, and he's forced to fold. Players are dropping like flies. We start the hand with 45 players remaining, and Ibinger opens a +1 to 120K. Ebony Kenny puts in the call, and look at that, now there's 44 players left. I'm not joking, you guys. Sometimes you just have to wait it out, and you're gonna pay jump up just because there's so many other tables and players that are going all in all the time. Well, speaking of all in, I look down at pocket jacks and 23 big blinds from the small blind. I don't really want to do anything other than put all of my chips in the middle. With pocket jacks, they're super hard to play, as I'm sure all of you know. Well, Ibinger and Ebony Kenny are both at the bottom of their range here with 10-9 suited and 9-8 suited, so we're gonna collect 360K worth of chips for shoving our jacks in the middle. We now have 1.8 million in our stack.
All right, you guys, first break of the day. We just had some fun on the feature table. 41 players left. When we get down to 39, so 2 more people have to bust, we'll be up to $52,000. So things are starting to move here pretty quickly. Every like 7-ish players is gonna be another pay jump and then sped up after that. So gonna pick my spots. Wish me luck. Let's get back into it.
I play off stream for a little bit, but nothing exciting happens. Nothing to report, but a few B-roll clips to add to the vlog. I get back over to the featured table, but luckily we now have pay jumped up to $52,000, just 10K less than I cashed earlier on in the day, and maybe I can pass that up and set my new highest score. I told you guys I was going to pick my spots, and that is exactly what we do. Is I pick up pocket kings, once again, the Cowboys here at the featured table. But now look at that, only 31 players are left. We have $61,500 locked up, and the next pay jump comes at 27th place, only 4 players away. I open up pocket kings here at the 80K big blind level up to 160K. O'Dwyer puts in the call from the big blind, bloating the pot up to 440K, and the flop comes ace, jack, jack, because when you have pocket kings or pocket queens, the flop always comes an ace. The double jacks on the board isn't great as well, so when he checks it over to me, I'm either way ahead or way behind, and I decide to pot control and check behind. The turn now comes to 6 of clubs, and a little bit more of the same, where O'Dwyer checks it over to me, and I decide to get a little bit tricky here and throw kings into my turn check back range. The river now comes the 9 of hearts, and when he checks it over to me for a third time, I look over at his stack and see that he has 340K. It shouldn't be hard to get this in if he has a 6, a 9, maybe a hand like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, something like that. He might find a call here. I want to go for the jugular, and I rip it all in. But as we can see, Steve O'Dwyer just has queen 8 offsuit for queen high. He's not going to put any more chips in the middle. I'm pretty stoked to take it down here with pocket kings, given the fact there was an ace and 2 jacks on the flop. Because we're on the secondary feature table, sometimes the beginning of hands are missed, and that's exactly what happens here with 9-7 of diamonds. But look at that, 24 players are left. We have pay jumped up to $71,000, officially the biggest cash of my life. If we can get one more player to lose, we'll be up to $81,000, and 20th place pays $91,000, so now this is where it starts to get a little bit fun. But like I said, we missed a bit of the pre-flop action here, where Under the Gun opens it up and the button calls. I decide to call as well with 9-7 of diamonds, and we see an action flop here when it comes king 8-4 with 2 diamonds. I check my flush draw over to the pre-flop razor from Under the Gun, who checks it over to do on the button. He now bets out for 350K with 2 pair, king 8 of clubs. I'm next to act from the big blind, and now I have a decision. With the 9 high flush draw, do I just put in the call for 350K out of position the rest of the way, or do I shove my 15 big blind stack in the middle and hope that I hit one of my cards that I need? I didn't come this far just to come this far, so with my flush draw, I decided to put in the call instead of ripping my stack in. I want to see a diamond on the turn or the river before I get my stack in the middle, and so when I put in the call, ding finds the fold. And look at that, the poker gods are on our side. The 5 of diamonds peels off on the turn. Bang, we turn the flush. All I'm thinking about now after I made my hand is to make sure that my face shows absolutely nothing. I don't want Dude to get any read on me. He showed some aggression on the flop, and I want all of his chips to go in the middle, and I'm gonna snap him off. But unfortunately, when I check it over the button, he checks behind. Maybe the diamond coming on the turn was a little bit too obvious, but either way, we're gonna see the river, which comes the 5 of hearts. It pairs the board. That's not what I wanted to see because it reduces my hand a little bit here, but I have to go for value. When he checks back on the turn, I can't rely on my opponent to put more chips in the middle. I decide this is a perfect time to go for the Super Cinco de Mayo. My biggest ever, 555,000 chips is my wager. I have the flush. I just bet a Super Cinco de Mayo. Please do put in the call, and he does. He snap calls it. It's a 2.6 million chip pot, and he has 2 pair. We are taking on this massive pot, a 25 big blind pot at this stage.
Cinco de Mayo. 555.
But then 3 players bust, and with 21 players left and $81,000 locked up, it's a good old-fashioned flip here in a 2 million chip pot.
Wow, big all-in. Maybe not for chips, but definitely for hand strength. Ding Biao, 825K, all in with the ace king. Wolfgang.
All right, dealer, you can do this. Be on my side. I'm not going to use my one time, but the flop comes 3, 10, 5 with 2 diamonds. The turn comes a jack of hearts, giving him 2 additional outs, being the 2 other queens in the deck.
One of the most dangerous players in the field, Ding Biao. Can he go home? And does, or at least to his hotel room.
But the river comes, the jack of spades. This 2 million chip pot is coming my way. Ding hits the rail, $91,000 locked up. Yes, let's go. Bang, so good for poker.
I would normally put a sticker on them, but I don't want to get punched.
Yeah, maybe don't put stickers on these super high rollers.
Dude, I'm ecstatic right now. I have to pee really bad, but I'm just trying to soak in this moment that I'm winning flips. Like, you gotta win your flips. I had queens there, he had ace king. I am 8th in chips with 4.5 million and 30 bigs. Average is 3.9 million, 26 bigs. Oh, this is fun. This is really fun. Okay, I gotta go to the bathroom now. Enough of you go.
With 18 players left, the hijack opens and I find myself in the big blind. Only 1 player away from a 6-figure score, the first ever of my career possibly, for $101,000. Huang opens up the hijack to 300K at the 150K big blind level. I decide to defend ace-4 offsuit, and the flop comes all bricks, queen 6 deuce. But when I check it over to Vincent and he bets out small here for 200K, I debate going for a check raise. I think about folding, but ultimately decide on floating him and putting in the call, trying to take it away on later streets. The turn comes the 3 of diamonds, giving me a few more outs. Any 5 would give me the wheel, but when it goes check check on the turn, the river now comes the jack of spades, and I have a decision. Is ace high good here, or should I turn my hand into a bluff, trying to get him to fold a small pair or even a pocket pair like 7s, 8s, 9s? Well, when you're not making hands and you don't think your hand is good, you have to elevate your game. I'm not going to make the final table and ultimately win this tournament by just giving up with ace high, so I take the matters into my own hands and fire out for 475K, putting the pressure on Huang. After what seems to be some back and forth in his head, he ultimately decides to fold the jack 10 offsuit. Look at that, you guys. I'm taking down a 1.7 million chip pot with a bluff. I know I've been getting a lot of good hands in this series, but now finally I can show you guys that I came to play and pulled off a bluff here in the biggest tournament of my life. And if you liked seeing me get creative with a non-made hand, well, you might like this one as well. Still, with 18 players left, I open up the cutoff and we get called by Kita in the big blind. We whiff the flop once again. It comes 8-6-4 and the action goes check check. More of the same on the turn with the 3 of diamonds, check check, but the river comes the queen of spades, which should be much better for my cutoff raising range than his big blind calling range. So when he checks it over to me with his ducks, pocket 2s, I turn my ace 10 of clubs into a bluff and bet out large here for 650K, more than 3/4 the size of the pot. He doesn't even think about it before snap folding his cards, but back-to-back pots where I'm taking it down with a non-made hand, and my chip stack is going in the right direction from a little bit of belief, determination, and elbow grease. Let's go. And just like that, we're at the final 2 tables. It's an 8 max. There's 16 players left. We have $101,000 locked up, and if one more player busts, we're up to 112.5K. Every 2 spots now is a pay jump, and I have to be cognizant of that going forward.
Final 2 tables. It's crazy. 8 more people and we're at a final table.
That thought process comes into play immediately here when I pick up a premium from the +1 and open it up to 300K. James Hopkins shoves from the +2 position off of a 3.1 million chip stack. You can see just how tight players have to play at this stage of the tournament. Look at the button. Off of a 3 million chip stack, so less than 20 big blinds, he folds king queen offsuit and the action comes back around to me. Hopkins has just north of 20 big blinds, but with an 11.5K pay jump on the horizon, am I going to get it in here with pocket jacks in potentially a flip situation, or do I fold my cards, get that pay jump, and then play after that? He easily could have a hand like queens, kings, and aces, and then I'm in a really bad situation where I only have around 20% chance to win the hand. But if he has a hand like ace king or ace queen, now I'm in a 55-45 situation, so even in the best case scenario, I'm 55%, worst case scenario, I'm 20%. What does that mean? I'm folding my cards.
This would be an insane fold.
Yeah.
Oh no, he should never fold. I just understand why he's not fist pumping. It's a borderline nit roll. Oh no,
Oh,
don't
no
do that.
way,
No, don't do that.
Wolfgang. He's been playing
Don't do
amazing.
that.
The announcers don't really love it, the chat doesn't really love it, they just want to see action, but their money is not on the line. For me, it's way more important to get that 11.5K pay jump and potentially make a final table for content, for glory, for childhood me playing poker at 12 years old at my friend's house in Chicago. So if you guys criticize this fold with jacks, that's fine. When you find yourself in a 25K playing for millions of dollars up top, you can do whatever you want. So I fold my cards, and Hopkins, congrats to you, you got a better hand to fold. But then, after making a massive fold, the poker gods reward us with another premium, ace jack of diamonds, and I open it up to 400K at the 200K big blind level. The action folds around to the player on the button who goes by Cale Burns. If you don't know who Cale is, he has over $14 million in total live earnings. He's a complete sicko, the second most all time on Australia's money list, and he has a cash for $1.7 million just 3 years ago when he got first place in a Triton event. So yeah, this dude's kinda good at poker, but when he has less than 10 big blinds in his stack, he has to pretty much put them all in the middle or fold his cards. He decides to do option C, which is put everything in the middle but a 25K chip. 1.925 million is the bet, which folds out all the other players until it comes around to me. Having ace jack of diamonds, I decide to put in the call, thinking I'm calling his all in, but I'm still getting used to this one chip behind thing, and that means we are going to go off to a flop. The flop comes king 6-3, all diamonds, bang, we flop the nuts, and a little bit of table talk ensues.
You did the one chip thing, or what do you have?
Bet. I'm not folding, obviously. I just want to try and make 11,500 just in case.
Hey, take your time, man.
No, I just say whatever you want. It's not going to make a difference to what I do.
I don't know, brother. One chip might be worth a lot.
Just like that, the turn and the river are bricks. Cale had 0% on the flop, so it didn't matter either way. I tried to be nice and talk him out of putting in that last chip, but he's eliminated in the tournament.
So good for poker. Let's go.
And we are going to ladder up once again. Now 15 players left in the tournament, $112,000 locked up. If you like that slogan, good for poker, you're in luck, because I just released some merch for the first time in 3 years. Go get it while it's available. Shit's getting crazy at this point. 2 more people bust, bringing us down to 13 players. But now this is kind of where it gets interesting. There's 7 players on one table and 6 on the other. Triton has to do a good job balancing the tables. We're going to play down to 9 remaining. But look at that. We look down at pocket kings and another player has busted. 12 players left, $128,000 locked up, and 11th pays $147,500. If you guys follow poker on any sorts of social media, you might have already seen this hand. This one goes off the rails. I have 17 big blinds in my stack, and I open it up to 500K from the hijack with pocket kings. The cutoff Zhao now 3-bets me to 1.5 million with pocket nueves, and the action's back over to me. I want to play absolutely no games here with pocket kings. I don't want to call here out of position and see some bad flops. After all, as you saw earlier in the video, pocket kings are an ace magnet, and I just want to see 5 cards.
And now Wolfgang getting the dream spot. Everyone in the chat, throw up some wolf emojis.
Kings.
Because this dog is hungry.
I decided to rip my 17 big blind stack in the middle with the second best hand ever created. I live in Dallas, Texas now. The Cowboys, you can't let me down. And look at that, without thinking for too long, Joao snaps it off with pocket nines. We're playing a 9 million chip pot. If I win this, I'll have the most amount of chips I've ever had in this 2-day tournament, and we have an 80% chance to double up. But what you guys are about to see on this run out is so crazy, I think it's best if the announcers take it from here.
Wolfgang
9
dodged a
only a
9.
9.
Oh, 9 on the flop, but Wolfgang can still hit a straight.
Flipping them right over. He loses this hand 79% of the time here, 76%.
Queen on the turn.
Queen.
The equities are going back and forth. I now have a 73% chance to win this pot, and I immediately call for the card I want.
You know, look even better though is the deuce on that board.
And the and look at the chop. Everybody wins and everybody loses.
Wow, what a roller coaster.
I had kings versus 9 pre-flop. He outflops me, I outturn me, and we end up chopping the pot. One of the craziest hands I've ever played in my life, let alone in a 9 million chip pot in my first ever 25K, 2 away from my first ever final table, and I'm left a little bit confused whether I should be disappointed that I didn't scoop this pot or happy that I'm chopping given the fact he outflopped me. We then get sent on a dinner break, but it's not a time to relax. I immediately hit up my good buddy Rampage and convince him to come down from his room to give me advice on how to take down this entire tournament.
Dude, that kings versus 9 hand, I would have had 38 bigs.
You didn't die.
No.
Back from break, we have 147.5K locked up, but we only have 13 big blinds in our stack. We have to get to work. There's an open from Alexander Shilko from the hijack. He makes it 600K to go, which is a min raise from the 300K big blind level. When I'm next to act, I don't think about it for too long before ripping in pocket kings from the button. Alexander can't hold on with his ace-9 offsuit. They hit the muck, which means we're taking down this 5.2 million chip pot and also 1.4 million in profit in just this hand alone. Even though that wasn't the optimal result when you have the second best hand ever created, 1.4 million chips is 7 starting stacks at 25K a pop. That's $175,000 worth of chips that we're taking in this hand alone pre-flop. And now with Ethan watching from the rail, I find myself going back and forth over to him asking for advice and just overall having a great time.
I got kings again.
At the end of the day, you gotta love what you do, and this is a blast. I want to share it with my friends, and it's really cool that he's also helping me on my journey to take down the entire tournament. And then, just when we thought we couldn't get any more premium pocket pairs, we look down at the best one, pocket aces, and I open it up to 600K. I'm hoping to get action now. I want to get more chips in the middle. I have 6 million in my stack. That's good for around 20 big blinds, but it would be sick if I had 40 big blinds. We knock out a player, and we're sitting 9-handed at the final table. Imagine that. Everyone's imagining it while they're looking down at their cards, but one by one, fold, 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 until we take down another pot pre-flop.
Everyone had a lot to think about, but nothing to say about it. I thought one of you guys was gonna do something.
Did you want us to do something?
Yeah.
We don't get any more action, but back-to-back hands worth kings and aces where we're taking down around $175,000 worth of chips. But then, the moment we've been hoping for over 30 minutes happens. Joao shoves from the small blind off of a 15 big blind stack with queen 9 of clubs. Boyven is at risk. We're rooting for a queen or a 9, and bang, the lady comes on the flop. Let's freaking go. So good for poker. 178K pay jump secured as well. Bang!
We made the final table. Let's go. I think we're gonna walk out of this thing with like smoke and stuff. It's gonna be really, really cool. And a pay jump. Now we locked up 178K. And the next pay jump will be 44 grand. What's that?
I'm a sucker for storylines, so...
There's no better person to win than me. You can't draw it up better than this.
A record-breaking event here in Jeju for the Triton Poker Series. Event number 3, the 25K No Limit Hold'em event, has seen 391 entries. We're down to a final table of 9. They're gonna compete for almost 1.9 million, the glory and this beautiful trophy. EC number 2 from the US with 5 million. Please put your hand together for Alexander Wolfgang.
I'm I'm 8 out of 9 in chips on the final table, but 17 big blinds gives me a lot to work with. The only thing I'm concerned about is letting seat 1 Shilko bust first because he only has 7 big blinds and it's a $44,000 pay jump up to $222,000. Putting my stack at risk and busting before him would be an ICM disaster. After a few hands, an interesting spot develops that could relieve us of that ICM pressure. Osmus shoves from the small blind with ace-6 of clubs and threatens the stack of Shilko, who now only has 4.5 big blinds.
You know, if he folds, another half big blind will be shaved off in the small.
He also knows if he folds this and wait for the hands later, he has 3 big blinds and he has very little fold equity, if at all.
But after all 5 cards are drawn, Shilko is unable to improve and he's out in 9th place for $178,000, meaning we're now guaranteed $222,000 and the chains are off of us. It's time to play some poker. With Shilko gone, we're now in last place at the final table and I really have nothing to lose. Paulius opens up the +1 to 800k and the action folds around to me on the dealer button. I have 4 million chips at the 400k big blind level, so around 10 big blinds, and I decide let's play for all of it, and I shove it all in here with king-queen offsuit. The action folds back around to Paulius. He decides to fold ace-jack offsuit. He was a 60% chance to win that one, so an absolutely massive shove that we got through there, and our chip stack is going in the right direction. But then, a little bit of deja vu when Paulius opens it up from under the gun now with ace-jack offsuit again, this time to 1 million chips because we're at the 250k, 500k big blind level. Unlike the last hand, I'm not on the button, I'm in the cutoff, so essentially the same thing, but I decide we gotta play for all of it here. The blinds are up, I still have around 10 big blinds, and king-queen suited is a very good hand, so I'm all in. Kind of a funny situation here where he has the exact same hand, I have the exact same hand. Will it yield the same results? Am I gonna get a better hand to fold for a second time in a row? Yes, he does. He folds ace-jack offsuit, but a really interesting spot where I get a better hand to fold and I'm increasing my chip stack by 46% without seeing a flop. And now, an hour after Shilko departed in 9th place, I find myself sitting on 14 big blinds. I have $222,000 locked up, but a $92,000 pay jump is staring me in the face. And then, the unthinkable happens. Joao opens the hijack with aces. Kita shoves a small blind for 13 big blinds with ace-king of diamonds, and Ibinger calls off his remaining 10 big blinds with pocket 9s. We have a 3-way all-in and a 70% chance of aces holding, sending Ibinger to the rails. In this moment, I remember it really setting in, the magnitude of this incredible spot. I'm sitting 6 out of 8th in chips, and by doing absolutely nothing, I could earn another $92,000, more than the median household income in the United States. This is huge.
King 10-8. Okay, he does manage to connect with the board. Oh my goodness. A deluge on the turn. What's the river?
Yes.
And just like that, aces hold. The strongest player at the table, Ibinger, hitting the showers, and we're down to 7 players. We're now 6 out of 7th in chips, but with Kita's stack now at 2 big blinds, we're not gonna make any moves until he either doubles up a few times or is eliminated from the tournament. A few hands later, it happens. Kita all in with ace-8 in a 3-way pot and can't find the double up, meaning we're down to 6 players now and have secured a mind-blowing pay jump up to $417,000.
Yeah, quite an impressive accomplishment for Wolfgang. A cash game background through YouTube to come out here and play against the best of the best. That's a real big score.
We're sitting in last place once again at the final table, and I pick up ace-jack offsuit from the hijack on 9 big blinds. This is an automatic shove. I put all of my chips in the middle, and everybody folds, which means we're taking down 1.5 million chips without seeing a flop. And even though this hand was sort of uneventful, you can see how just getting shoves through is massive for your chip stack. We then head on a 15-minute dinner break, but it's not relaxing for me in the slightest. In Seoul, South Korea, I bought a really cool jacket, and I told myself if I made a final table, I'd wear the jacket so it could be in my winner's photo. The time is now, only 6 players left. I have to go grab it. I also tell my filmers and Ethan to come with me in order to talk strategy. He's been watching the final table live stream, and he has a lot of valuable insight.
I bought this jacket, and then I posted a picture, I said, picking out my winner's photo pic, so I want to have it ready. So then just find more jams against him?
Yeah, you want to look for opportunities here. Like ICM kind of matters, but really not a lot because it's so top heavy.
Okay, that shouldn't be too hard for me. I think the thing that I need to do more of is get more aggressive and find some shoves.
And then this hand happens. Paulius is in the hijack and opens it up to 5.6 million at the 800k big blind level with Queen Jack of Diamonds. It's a 7 big blind open, so essentially what he's doing is committing himself to the hand while also leaving around 3 big blinds behind in the case he has to fold. But when it folds around to me and I'm in the big blind and I look down at ace king offsuit, I'm just thinking I gotta go all in. This is my time to shine. 9 big blinds, a great spot here to get it in as a favorite. And that's what I do. I shove all in, and Paulius is forced to call it off here. And just like that, we're playing a 16 million chip pot with everything on the line. If I win, I'm up to 20 big blinds. If I lose, I'm out of the tournament in 6th place. But if I can find a win here, Paulius will be crippled down to less than 1 big blind, and I'll almost assuredly be guaranteed another pay jump. We gotta find the double up right here, right now.
Good start. If he wins this, he's guaranteed over $500,000 and a good chance to get all the way up to the top prize of 1.9 million. Wow.
I need to hold now. The turn comes a 7 of spades, giving me a 95% chance to win it, and the 8 of spades on the river peels off. And just like that, we have won the biggest spot of my life. I have 20 big blinds at the final table with $1.9 million up top, and the dream is more than alive.
So good for poker.
Reminder that my Good for Poker collection is up on my site. Click the link in the description to go get you some and support my channel. He does find a double up with ace king, but then can't beat pocket jacks with 5-4 offsuit for 2 big blinds, meaning we're 5-handed now, and I've locked up $532,000, more than $500,000. In this next hand, I open up pocket ochos from the hijack up to 1.6 million, and everybody folds. So I'm taking down 2 million chips without seeing a flop with pocket 8s here. Much needed to my chip stack. I'm now up to 17.8 million. A few orbits later, Jeremy Osmus completes from the small blind, but I look down at pocket 10s. I can't check behind here. This is too good of a spot to come in for a raise, and I make it 2.1 million. He obviously folds his jack 4 off. He's not Robbie on the Hustler. He can't play that hand in this big of a spot. When he folds, we're adding more chips to our stack once again. So back-to-back hands where I'm taking down pre-flop with a little bit of aggression. I'm up to 23 big blinds now, 3rd out of 5 players in chips, and then the 2 stacks shorter than me decide to play for all of it. Simcock Y gets it in good versus Vaskarensky's 7 big blind stack, and even though we're rooting for aces to hold, Queen 9 doubling here isn't the end of the world, as it will leave Cock Y with only 6 big blinds. But after all 5 cards are shown, pocket aces emerge victorious, and we're 4-handed, $680,000 locked up. I'm 3rd out of 4th in chips, but it's anybody's game with everyone sitting on a healthy stack. With other options on the table other than just shoving and folding, it means we can get creative when the opportunity presents itself and play some street poker. That's exactly what happens here. With 4 players left now, Jeremy Osmus limps from the small blind, and the action's on me with 8-3 offsuit. I can't raise it up. I just have to check behind, and we're off to a flop here, which comes 6-4-7 rainbow. Osmus decides to stab out here for 1 big blind. Maybe he's trying to control the size of the pot because he has an open-ended straight draw after all, which is a pretty good hand. Action's on me now, and I could just fold my 8-3 offsuit, but 4-handed, I'm gonna have to take some stands and show my opponents that I'm not just gonna get run over. I am a tighter player on this final table. I know that, so maybe a raise here will confuse Jeremy and make him think I have a pretty good hand like 7-5, 7-6, pocket 4s.
Well, Wolfgang making a nice raise here. I was gonna say I'd like to see him continue in some way.
I raise it up to 2.1 million, and the action's back over to Jeremy. Jeremy's not gonna make it easy though. He decides to put in the call. The turn pairs the top card, coming the 7 of diamonds, and Jeremy checks it over to me. Now what do? I represented a strong hand on the flop, but given the fact there's another 7 on the turn, it makes it less likely I have hands like 7-6, 7-5, 7-4, so I decide to wisely check behind and see what the river card brings in. The river comes the 4 of spades, and Jeremy now checks it over to me for a second time in a row. There's 6.6 million in the middle, and I'm definitely not going to win this with 8 high. I think if I bet here on the river, even though the story doesn't make too much sense, I think Jeremy will give me credit for having a good hand, so I take matters into my own hands and fire out for 2.1 million chips, putting the pressure back on Jeremy.
And wouldn't this be a remarkable call from Jeremy Ausmus? Just jack high, playing for 1.9 million.
Now with jack 5 offsuit, he doesn't snap fold. That's how good of a player Jeremy is. He's thinking about calling me here with jack high, but ultimately he gives me the respect that maybe I've earned on this final table by not playing too many bad hands, and folds his cards, something I never thought I would do on the final table, but the opportunity presented itself and I went for a nice size bluff here and got it through.
Good fold, Brad. Good fold. Well played.
And now we've hit a milestone in the tournament where the big blind is now 1 million chips. Simcock Y opens it up to 2 million from the cutoff, and the action's on me in the big blind with ace jack of spades. I think in hindsight this is a pretty clear shove. Ace jack of spades four-handed. It's got to be a super premium. Put my chips in the middle, and that way I can't be outplayed and I'll see all 5 cards if he calls. But instead, I decide to take the more passive route and find the call, and the flop comes 9-9 deuce with 1 spade, and I start with a check. Simcock Y now bets out for 1.4 million, and I'm thinking that I have to call. Ace jack high is going to be good against a lot of his other ace high type of hands. King high hands, maybe 10 jack, 10-7, 10-8 suited. So I put in the call, and we're off to the turn an 8.3 million chip pot, which comes the 9 of clubs. Now any pocket pair will have a boat, so I check it over to Simcock Y once again. Whatever he does here on the turn will give me a ton of information. I'm almost positive that he's gonna check behind on this turn with all of his worst ace high holdings, but if he bets here, I'm probably gonna have to fold my hand because he's representing a 9, maybe pocket 8s, pocket 7s, pocket 10s, something like that. But unfortunately he doesn't. It's very unlikely that ace jack of spades is gonna be good here. I expect him to check behind with all of those hands I have beat, so unfortunately I'm forced to fold my cards. So pretty frustrating hand here. Would have put me over the 20 million mark for the first time in the tournament. Another interesting spot happens here when the action folds around to me in the small blind off of a 13 big blind stack, and I look down at the crabs, pocket 3s. I think this is a pretty clear shove and a mistake from me when instead of shoving, I decide to limp in, giving Cock Y the option of raising or checking, and he decides to go with option B. Off to a flop we go, which comes ace 10-4 rainbow, and he obviously connects with top pair, so I decide to check fold on this really bad board where I have 4th pair, all over cards. What am I gonna do with pocket 3s? So back-to-back hands where I made the wrong decision pre-flop and it cost me huge. Well, luckily this next hand I know exactly what I have to do pre-flop. King 5 of hearts is a very good hand four-handed, so I make it 2 million to go. Jeremy Ausmus is in the big blind and puts in the call. He defends with 8-5 of diamonds, and the flop comes 9-6-4 with 2 hearts. King 5 of hearts here is pretty good. I have the king high flush draw, but the board is very connected and Ausmus is a great player. So if I take a stab here for 1 to 2 million, he easily could check shove on me, putting a ton of pressure, and I'd be forced to get it in with my king high flush draw. Instead, I decide to check back. It worked nicely in that other spot earlier on in this video where I ended up making the flush right on the turn. The turn card in this hand though is a red card, but it's the jack of diamonds, and Ausmus checks it over to me for a second time. I'm not gonna take the bait here. I have king high, which might beat a lot of his hands at showdown, and I still just have a flush draw, so I decide to check back for a second time. In the river comes the ace of diamonds, giving Jeremy the flush, and with 5.5 in the middle, he now overbets for 6.5 million. For a few seconds, I debate calling with king high. Maybe he's bluffing here. Good players like Jeremy will polarize this large sizing with a lot of bluffs that I would have beat and a lot of value. In this spot, he obviously has essentially the nuts. nuts, 8-5 of diamonds, so I wisely fold my cards. I'm not gonna get it in here with king high. Instead, I'm gonna try to find a better spot with my 11 big blind stack. But 11 big blinds quickly dwindles down to just 5 when you're not making many hands and the blind level goes up to 1.2 million from the big blind. Yeah, things can go south pretty quickly. And when Osmus raises it up to 2.4 million from the button, I decide to get it in here with ace-8 offsuit. I have 4.8 million and the action folds back around to Jeremy. Hopefully I'm ahead of a lot of his range here, and I make one last attempt and I plead with Jeremy, maybe he can find a fold.
Brad, you're looking great today. Did I tell you that?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Trying to get me to fold, huh?
I like that speech.
I know that trick.
I love that speech.
It's like 5 million, yeah.
Obviously, he's not going to do that. It's only 2.4 more million to win a pot of 12 million. He finds the call, and we're going to see 5 cards for my tournament life. I tell the dealer to put my mudkip on the cards for a little bit of extra luck, and now it's time for the biggest spot of my life. 59% chance to win it here and double up to 12 million or around 10 big blinds. But if I lose to Jeremy Osmus's Queen 9 offsuit, we'll hit the showers. 680K will be our reward, but I'll feel like a failure. The flop comes 4, 5, 9. He spikes a 9 on the flop and takes the lead.
And up.
I immediately get up from my seat knowing that I'm behind. I'm trying to appeal to any of the superstitions to give me an ace on the turn or the river, but it doesn't work. The turn seals my fate, bringing in the Queen of Diamonds, and the Jack of Hearts is inconsequential. It didn't matter. I'm gonna be eliminated from the tournament. This 12 million chip pot is being shipped over to Jeremy. What a good player he is, but I got it in ahead. I wish I could have won this one, but unfortunately I ran so good in the beginning parts of the tournament that I used up all my luck and I just couldn't get it done one more time. My first ever Triton Super High Roller Series was one to remember. I went from losing $15,000 in event number 1 to cashing 22nd for $62,000 in event 2, and then 4th out of 391 players for 680 grand in event 3. It's mind-blowing for many reasons, mostly because I wasn't even supposed to enter the tournament and it ended up 27xing my money. I've never sold action in a single cash game or tournament, always believing and betting on myself, something I'm incredibly proud of. I love the saying, if you don't risk anything, you risk more. And I encourage all of you to go after your dreams, no matter how big or risky they might seem. Make sure you're subscribed. The next videos will be a series of must-see, record-setting cash games in Las Vegas and on Hustler Casino Live. Good luck on the felt, you guys, and I'll catch you in a few days in the next video. Peace!